Garrett Blake was 3 credits away from starving when he made the mistake. That would change the Velian Empire forever. After a 16-hour shift in the cooling bays, half-blind from welding flush and dizzy from hunger, he wasn't paying attention to where he walked. The Imperial dining hall on Station Zenith was split into strict layers of class and privilege. At the top, nobles ate at tables marked with floating holographic crests. Below them were the merchant guilds and high-ranking officials. At the very bottom, far from the chandeliers that lit the upper tiers, were the workers, people like Garrett who repaired machines, pipes, and cooling units for pay that barely bought 1 meal a day. Garrett usually knew exactly where he belonged, but exhaustion fogged his mind. He crossed the clean divide between workers and nobility without noticing. He saw an empty chair beside a quiet corner and dropped into it, pulling out his ration bar. It took him several seconds to feel the weight of someone's gaze. When he finally looked up, he found a woman sitting across from him. She floated in a medical hover chair, motionless except for the slow rise of her breathing. Her skin was a smooth silver tone, her eyes bright and luminescent, distinct traits of the Velian species. Her robes were clearly noble, woven with markings only high houses were allowed to wear. A neural crown rested on her head, pulsing with weak and uneven light. Garrett froze. He had not only sat at the wrong table, he had sat at a royal table. "Hell," he muttered, then quickly corrected himself. "Sorry, I'll move." He started to stand, but her eyes locked onto his with an intensity that rooted him in place. There was something desperate in them, something pleading. He slowly sat back down. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. Her fingers twitched, but she didn't speak. The neural crown flickered in a pattern that set off Garrett's instincts. He'd spent years fixing broken machines and misaligned systems. He recognized when something wasn't functioning the way it should. He leaned forward. "Your neural crown. It's supposed to help you communicate, isn't it?" A single tear ran down her silver cheek. Garrett didn't know Velian customs, but he knew human emotion. That tear meant frustration, helplessness, and maybe loneliness. "May I look at it?" he asked gently. She blinked once, slow and deliberate. A yes. Garrett didn't touch her. He wasn't stupid enough to handle noble equipment without consent. But he examined the crown closely, up close. The problem was obvious. The connection nodes were misaligned by a few degrees, just enough to disrupt the interface between her neural pathways and the device. "Who calibrated this?" he murmured. "The nodes are off. No wonder you can't communicate." He pulled out his multi-tool. A mechanic carried one everywhere, even into places he wasn't supposed to be. He hesitated for a moment, aware of how this could end. Then he began adjusting the anchoring points carefully, working with the precision of someone who repaired life support machinery on a daily basis. "This might feel strange," he warned. He clicked the final node into alignment. The crown flared bright blue. A moment later, a clear voice rang through the air, not from her mouth, but projected through the crown. "I can hear you. I can finally hear you." Garrett almost fell out of his chair. "You can talk." "For 2 years," she said, "I have been trapped in my own body, completely aware, unable to move, unable to speak. My father's doctors claimed they corrected the crown. They said the damage was irreversible. Garrett swallowed. Your father, Emperor Vector of the Velian sovereignty, she said. And I'm Princess Lashara. Garrett's stomach dropped. He had just committed accidental treason. You performed an unauthorized medical intervention on imperial royalty, she said. That is punishable by execution. He stared at her in horror. But you saved me, she said, her voice gentler now. You repaired in minutes what the Empire's finest specialists failed to understand. For years, before Garrett could answer, 6 Imperial guards appeared from nowhere. Garrett hadn't even noticed they were watching. Suddenly, he was surrounded. Oh no. This is bad, he whispered. Guards, Lashara commanded, her voice sharp and strong. Summon my father at once, and do not touch this human. Anyone who harms him answers to me. The guards paused, clearly confused, but obeyed. Minutes later, the atmosphere of the entire dining hall shifted. Conversations stopped. People dropped to their knees. Emperor Vector entered the hall with the heavy presence of someone used to commanding entire solar systems. Garrett, frozen with fear, forgot to kneel. Vector rushed to his daughter's side. Lashara, your true voice, father, she replied, her tone breaking with emotion. I'm not lost. This human mechanic fixed my crown. The Emperor turned slowly toward Garrett. Gratitude, disbelief, and confusion flickered across his face. You restored her voice? Garrett lifted his multi-tool as if it could explain everything. I just realigned some connection nodes. Just, Vector repeated. I have paid fortunes for specialists, consulted the brightest minds in the Empire, and you claim this was simple. Garrett shrugged awkwardly. Sometimes the people who study things miss what the people who fix things see. Lashara nodded. He saw my crown as a machine he could repair, not a symbol of failure. Vector studied Garrett in silence, then asked the question that made the hall hold its breath. What do you want? Human? Wealth? Rank? A title? Garrett thought about his cramped quarters and his endless repairs. He thought about hunger and exhaustion. Then he looked at the princess, who was crying again, but now with joy instead of despair. I just want to make sure her crown stays working, he said. And if possible, teach your specialists how to approach problems like mechanics. The Emperor straightened and raised his voice, so the entire hall could hear. Garrett Blake of Earth is hereby appointed Imperial Maintenance Consultant. He will have full access to all royal medical technologies and compensation worthy of the man who restored my daughter's life. Anyone who challenges this appointment challenges me. Lashara's chair drifted closer to Garrett. Her eyes were bright. Thank you, she said softly. You didn't just fix a crown. You saw someone who needed help and acted without thinking of consequences. Garrett rubbed the back of his neck. I just tightened some bolts. No, she said. You gave me my voice back. And that day, the Velian Empire learned something its greatest scholars had forgotten. Sometimes the most complex problem only needs someone brave enough to try the simplest solution. Sometimes the wrong table is exactly the right place to be. What would you have done in Garrett's place? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the story, remember to like and subscribe for more.